See that lone pine up on that hill over there? What are we actually doing right now? The kids are just wild out there. They're wild. But they're having a good time, you know? They're having a good time. This is Untamed Unbroken, the Adventurer's Guide, and I'm your host, Blake Bredesen. Welcome to Untamed Unbroken. Today, we're getting into some essential prep for archery whitetail seasons right around the corner in mid-September, and August is the perfect time to get ready if you haven't been prepping already throughout the summer or even the winter, spring. Let's break down some crucial tasks, we'll call it. 5 things that are going to help set you up for a successful hunt and a successful hunting season. First up, scouting and trail cameras. First of all, one of my favorite times to scout, and this you can't do this in the month of August, but it is right after the season. Or if you know you're not hunting anymore in, say, December, hunting during those winter months can be super beneficial. Late season, tracks are easy to see if there's any bit of snow on the ground. With that being said, deer aren't necessarily in the same areas in September, October as they are in December. So take that into consideration too. But I like to scout in that time of year. It's nice to get out. But first up, scouting trail cameras. You're going to want to spend time walking through your hunting area, looking for signs of deer activity like tracks, droppings, rubs, scrapes. Use some binos, observe deer from a distance if you can without disturbing them. You're going to want to place trail cameras near food sources, water sources, known travel routes, and check those cameras as regularly as you can and monitor those movement patterns. A lot of cameras these days offer that cellular service, and you don't even have to go out to the actual camera to check. One example I'll give you for placing a camera, if you notice a lot of tracks near a particular oak tree, you might want to set up a camera there and see if the deer are feeding on the acorns or feeding in that area when those acorns start to drop. So if you just know there's a bunch of acorns, you never know exactly in the fall when those acorns are going to start dropping and when they're going to start munching. You can set up a camera near those in August, and it's just kind of thinking ahead to October or whenever those acorns start dropping, and you're going to know if there's deer coming in to feed on those acorns, and then help you determine those best times to hunt that area. Next up is tree stand and blind. You want to inspect all your tree stands and blinds, any rust or loose bolts, worn straps. If you have ladder sections, ensure those are secure and stable. Use some pruning shears or a saw, clear branches, brush, clear lanes. If you have a stand that's looking over a field edge, clear any branches that might be blocking your view or interfering. This is a big one. Or interfering with your arrow's flight path. That's any stand location, if you're able to. I know on a lot of public land, they don't allow you to trim trees and stuff like that. But if you're able to trim out the arrow path, shooting lanes, and test your stand's stability by climbing up and down a few times. And this leads me right to number 3 is practice shooting. Set up a target in your backyard, go to the local archery range, practice shooting from different distances, angles to simulate real hunting scenarios. Create mock hunting setups in your backyard. You could use a 3D deer target. You practice shooting from a tree stand at various distances, various heights, and just focus on hitting those vitals. Consistent practice throughout the year, not just, oh, hey, it's September, I better shoot my bow a couple times. But if you can shoot it every single week, I know some people are like, shoot it every day. But if you can shoot it a couple times every week, you're going to be ahead of the pack for sure when it comes September. So some things I've done, if you don't have the ability to put up a deer stand in your backyard and practice shooting out of it. I've shot off the peak of my roof and down at targets. I've used a deck and shot off the deck. Any bit of elevation that helps mimic where you're going to be or the height you're going to be off the ground in a tree stand, it helps. It helps to get some of those angles and get dialed in. But the consistent practice is going to ensure the confidence is there and the accuracy is there when it comes time to take a shot at a deer. Number 4, we got food plots and mineral sites. You want to choose a location with good soil, sunlight, plant a mix of clovers, anything else, turnips, anything else that you can that's good for your area that deer are going to eat. Then just maintain that plot. Water as needed. Set up mineral blocks or loose minerals in areas where deer frequent. Refresh those minerals as needed to keep the deer coming back. So you could plant a small food plot near a known bedding area. This is all assuming that you have permission to use this land or it is your own land, right? And you can use some clover and chicory or something like that to attract deer. Set up that trail camera right there and monitor the area and see if it's working. And finally, want gear inspection and preparation. You want to inspect your bow especially for any signs of wear or damage, or if there's any loose screws. You want to make sure all those are tight. You want to check that string and the cables for any fraying. Replace them if necessary. Ensure your arrows are good to go. Fletchings are intact. A lot of people like to wash their hunting clothes with scent-free detergent and store them in a scent-free bag. That's one option. Another option is if you get a big tote or a big bag of some sort and you put a bunch of fall leaves in there and you store your stuff in there, or you get some scent wafers and throw those in your bag or in your tote that your gear is in. I use scent wafers and I've used dried, you're just basically leaves from the fall. Throw those at the bottom of a tote or a bag that I have gear in or clothing in, and it works great to keep everything smelling like outside. Check your boots, check your clothes for any tears, leaks. Ensure you're good to go. If you have any long walks planned or little hikes planned, gotta make sure you're good to go with that as far as gear is concerned. Inspect your broadheads. You want to make sure they're sharp, they're aligned. Practice shooting with your broadheads to make sure they're flying true. And then don't forget to touch them up and sharpen them back up afterwards. I think one of the biggest things here is practice. You have to be shooting your bow all year round if you truly want to give yourself a good chance come hunting season. You have to be shooting. Number 2, you gotta do some eScouting. eScouting is where it's at. You can use apps or things like OnX. You can use BaseMap. That's one that I use. I've used both of those, BaseMap and OnX Hunt. Both are great. They show you all the boundaries or the property lines, owners of those properties, wildlife management areas. They show you all of that. It's very easy to eScout, especially from a laptop with those. Just nail down some points of interest, and throughout the summer, check out those points of interest, take pictures, make notes. If you can get boots on the ground in those areas, that's what's going to be best. Pick out some trees, pick out some spots where you could put deer stands, especially if you're hunting public, right? This is what I primarily hunt. And so when I'm scouting, I'm looking on apps first, and then I'm getting boots on the ground there. I'm planning a half a day, and I'm just going out there sometime in the summer. August is a great time to do it. July is another great time to do it. I know July is pretty much over here at the time of this recording, but get out there, check it out, find a few areas, for various factors like wind, setting up on different types of sign or near bedding areas. And just, it helps tremendously to get there at some point in the summer before the season starts. So once you're in and the season started, you don't want to be tooling around too much in the areas you want to hunt. And then there's always in-season scouting. When you're in on your hunts, you should always be scouting at the same time, making notes of the area or better locations, or hey, that would be a good spot when the wind is coming from the northeast, or when the wind's coming from the west, this spot here is going to be perfect. As always, stay wild. Thank you for sticking around. If you've enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Even one word, it helps a ton. Sincerely appreciate you guys. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay wild.
You've been listening to Untamed, Unbroken, a Lone Pine Adventures original podcast.